Hello, everyone. My guest today is Ramy Nassar, AI expert, product management expert, product design expert, and ex-head of innovation at Mattel. For those of you who don't have young girls at home, Mattel is the producer of the famous Barbie doll. And Ramy is also a TEDx speaker. Thank you very much, Ramy, for joining us today.
My pleasure. Looking forward to our discussion.
Ramy, did you see the Barbie movie?
So I haven't seen the Barbie movie yet, and I get asked every day about it. I have a 1.5-year-old baby at home, which means time to go to a movie is not really existent in my life. And to be honest,
Likewise.
I spent several years with Hot Wheels and Barbies dominating my whole life. I still have boxes and boxes of toys here from when I worked with Mattel, leading the Mattel's first innovation lab that I'm not too keen. If I'm gonna go see a movie, it might not be one that reminds me of work, but I've heard it's very good.
Yeah, I've heard it too. Let's say my older one has seen the movie already. But coming back to, let's say, what we agreed to talk about, which is AI and human computer interaction. Are you scared that AI programs, AI algorithms imitate humans so well that we may perceive them as a human being?
I'm not. There's a few reasons that I don't feel the level of threat that is often discussed. And it's not in the sense of, hey, we could just unplug all the computers. I think to me, we are still quite a distance away from true general artificial intelligence, AGI, artificial general intelligence, that can truly replicate um, generative AI, which of course is all the buzz right now since November of last year. This chat GPT and many other large language models. When we truly understand what's happening within these systems, we understand it may have the appearance of intelligence, and we can use these tools to incredibly powerful personal and business outcomes. But we are basically just predicting the next word in a sentence based on previous words in the sentence and stringing together sentences, paragraphs. In some cases, even entire books are being written with these tools. But I think to me, the real question and debate will come to how do we use these to achieve personal and business outcomes? And that's a different type of discussion than the discussion about the destruction of humanity or the threat of AI. I don't think we should ignore that conversation, but it's certainly not what I'm most focused on in my work and in my passion either.
So how do you foresee the future of our interaction with computers, given the AI revolution, which I treat as a kind of next industrial revolution, the fourth one probably.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that we are right in the middle of one of the biggest technology shifts of our time for many people, the biggest of their time. I would advocate in terms of kind of modern era, there's been a few big shifts. The first was the internet as a whole, right? The ability to connect and network computers across massive differences uh, changed everything we understand about the world. The If we call that a modern technology, a 1.0, I would argue that mobile devices, our smartphones, our little rectangles we all are glued to in our pockets 24/7, and we look at what 1,000 times a day now. I think of that as just an extension of that global network. I think of that as sort of as a 1.5. I think the question really that still remains, and I have my own beliefs on it, but I don't think anyone knows the answer, is this AI revolution, if we call it that. what are going to be the bigger, longer term impacts of this? Is it and I come from an engineering background, so I think in version numbers. Is this a major version? Is this technology 2.0, or is it 1.6 or 1.55? And I don't mean to get lost in the numbers here, but is it a transformation or is it an evolutionary step? I don't think we as humans have the ability to recognize while we are in the midst of change, the impact of that change. So it won't be until years from now that we can really look back. And my passion these days actually lies both in AI and emerging technology, but also strategic foresight, which is the art and science of understanding change and resiliency. And the interesting thing about how systems and communities and societies and technologies change is that during the change, we can't necessarily tell what that impact will be. Is this cyclical change? Is this a wild card change, something that comes quickly and changes the landscape forever? So I think it's incumbent on all of us as technology leaders to just take time on a regular basis to reflect on how the change is impacting. Because I just don't think we really know or can see the answer just yet. But I would certainly believe that this is the beginning of a major change in how we do work, what even work means, and the role of technology in our lives continuing to move forward.
Totally agree. My point is that the biggest change is this will affect the work we work intellectually. So we don't work directly; we work through an extension, through an agent, kind of agent, which is the AI program. So the invention comes from us, but the execution of this invention or innovation is done by an automated extension. How would you comment on that?
So, in fact, there's a gentleman. He may or may not still be at IBM, but he was a design fellow at IBM named Chris Nessel, who wrote a book on exactly what you're talking about. The book is called Agentive Design, and he advocates for this notion of, let's say, computer or AI driven agents to work with or for us. And I won't go into the detailed definitions of how he describes agentive design, but it's a different paradigm than automated decision making, right? An automated decision making, an algorithm might, well, do exactly what it sounds like, create a decision for us. In augmented decision making, we've got an algorithm that might inform how we as humans make a decision. We sometimes call that human in the loop. People often refer to augmented intelligence as the real form of AI, not artificial intelligence. In agentive design, it's a combination. It's more about managing how a system works, and it is configuring a tool to then work mostly autonomously for it. And there are many, many examples of it. If you, one of the simplest ones that he refers to in his book is a smart thermostat, where there is a kind of a training period where you configure this thermostat with your own preferences on how you like your home to be heated or cooled. It learns from that behavior and then acts as an agent on your behalf, controlling your thermostat for you. But you can go in and override the agent whenever you want. That is a little bit different than automated decision making, which would be a thermostat where you plug it in and it automatically sets your preferences for you. So I really like the design concept of an agent rather than always jumping to automated decision making. There are cases for it, but in many, many scenarios, the real value will come from that agent mindset.
There's a book I have bought, but I haven't read it yet, which is called Rewired. You may have heard about it because it's quite quite in the news now, written by ex-McKinsey or McKinsey consultants, and it's about application of AI into kind of brick and mortar businesses. And one of the key examples in the book is Lego, which is also a toy company. How, in your opinion, can, let's say, traditional businesses that produce traditional products like toys, which embraces your experience, benefit from applying AI?
It's a great question, and I think there are 100 answers I could give you. The main one being that just because a product or service category isn't technology centric on its own, right? Even a physical play toy like Lego, and the office I'm standing in right now is surrounded with Lego models of different NASA and space sets because I'm a bit of a nerd for Lego myself. Um, doesn't mean we can't be using all forms of AI from supply chain optimization. Remember, Lego is a multi-billion-dollar company sending, I don't even know the number. If not billions, then possibly trillions of tiny little parts, sometimes 1 millimeter by 1 millimeter, all over the world. And what's fascinating to me as a company, I a few years ago I built. I'm going to tell you a bit too much about myself, but I built the Millennium Falcon set from Lego. If I remember right, it was about 15 or 16,000 pieces. It was way too much money. The thing was almost a meter wide. It was a lot of fun. It took me weeks to build it. But what was most remarkable to me, I wasn't missing a single piece. So if we think about quality control, supply chain management and optimization, all of these things might be invisible to an end consumer of a product, for example, Lego, but be absolutely massive, transformational, business shifting impacts on the back end. And I think it's really, really important for us to realize that yes, ChatGPT is cool and DALI is cool, and we can make videos and make fake voices, but in some ways, we still haven't really uncovered the core business use cases for these tools. But when it comes to, let's say, the boring side of AI, optimization of complex data models, predictive analytics and forecasting, uh, we don't like to celebrate that. You won't hear that on the day-to-day news. You'll hear about the latest chat GPT, this and that. But I believe truly the real use cases and the business value right now still comes on some of that back end. So there are a million ways companies like Lego and Mattel and others who are creating consumer packaged goods that be their category might still be using AI and technology within their strategy and within their operations, even if we can't see it on the front end as the consumer.
What's the awareness of these companies in regard to AI? Companies that are, let's say, large multinationals, product companies, traditional products, but not, let's say, based particularly in technology.
I think that AI is still at a very immature stage, even in the big companies, in terms of its true use and impact. And what I mean by that is I am frequently surprised in workshops that I run with executive teams from banks and mining and manufacturing and all different types of companies, just how superficial the knowledge of AI is. These leaders and executives certainly know the term. They see opportunities and threats as a result of the technology, but they don't have clear strategies. They don't have clear roadmaps with respect to how they will leverage the technology going forward. So what that means is that there is more opportunity now than probably any moment in time for technology leaders to drive things forward. But what is most important in doing so is being able to articulate a clear value proposition, a understandable and defensible return on investment being of time, talent, and treasure, not just development, not just cost, but all three of those, without being able to present the clear business case. AI is and continues to be this mythical vaporware, wouldn't it be cool if concept within these big companies. The companies that are leading are the ones who can translate from this idea into a specific structure, business case, risk assessment, cost benefit, all that old school, boring business school stuff. They can make the case for the investment and then reap the rewards from it. It is probably on par in terms of how hard it is to do with the actual development of the algorithms, is making that clear case for the use of technology.
Right. Can fully agree from my experience with let's say people responsible for innovation or product management. How would you implement AI, let's say, from management perspective? I've heard, let's say, opinion that it's best to have a kind of matrix structure. Let's say people from machine learning or kind of department, let's say, are put into every department in a large company, you know, to evangelize the concept. And you know, not to create a silo of data science within a company. How would you relate to that?
Absolutely. I think there are a number of approaches here, but from where I sit, cross-functional exploration and exploitation, I guess, of the technology is key. And so I'll give you a specific example. I was recently running a workshop with a company in the hospitality, travel, tourism industry, so one of the larger hotel chains in the world. And we actually ran a full day workshop with the product and design part of the organization about AI foundations, fundamentals, and then how do we ideate with AI? How do we uncover business opportunities and build the case for the investment using AI as a mindset, as a tool that we design with? And what's really interesting is not interesting. What's important to appreciate is this team alone cannot drive the initiatives forward on their own. They need to work with their data organization. They need to work with their technology engineering organization. They need to work with their information technology organization. They need to work with their security compliance risk organization because of all of the risks associated with any sort of augmented or automated decision making with when it comes to consumer or customer data. All of these things come together. And so the organizations that are successful here are the ones who put together some sort of proactive AI governance council, AI collaborative council, data strategy. They all have long-winded businessy consultancy names, but the point being having senior executives with different levels of or different views of accountability, such as product, technology, security information, legal, working together, because a product engineering group can come up with a great prototype for a solution, but it will never be commercialized if it is a customer-facing tool or technology, if it doesn't have the buy-in from legal, risk, compliance, from finance, from the different parts of a broad organization that need to also be a part of the conversation. So I think the cross-functional approach is absolutely vital and probably the hardest thing to move forward.
I think that, let's say, maybe it's not very politically correct what I say, but I have a feeling that large companies are now most afraid of risks related to AI. That you don't know who's responsible if things go wrong. and it's the case world over. So I think that, let's say, putting ahead this approach that there are cross-functional teams working together and looking for opportunities, this mitigates this risk because people, can face these risks in discussion and see that these risks are not as huge as they look like.
I would tend to agree with that. I would say I often, again, when I'm teaching or leading workshops, I often try to differentiate between real and perceived risks.
Yeah, that's a
And
good point.
AI is an interesting domain because in many areas of design and innovation, most risks are perceived risks. And if you actually think about it, they're not real risks. When it comes to I don't think we fully know or can appreciate always the longer term risks and implications. So risk will always be a part of this. In fact, I have some workshops coming up in a few weeks with a financial services organization, one of the large banks, and it's actually with the risk group. So the entire risk organization for the bank, where their entire job of all these executives is to think about risk. We're going to be talking about AI and its opportunities, and that will be hopefully transformational to them so that they can start to put the risk to look at it through the right lens and to differentiate between real and perceived risk. I think that is really, really important. Another tool we have to help mitigate risk is proof of concept, prototype, MVP, taking a design thinking iterative approach. When we build a new tool or technology, we don't have to launch it fully in public to millions of users on the first try. It is a risk mitigation or risk management strategy. So we look at Microsoft a number of years ago. They launched before Bing, before Bard, before ChatGPT, they launched a chatbot called Tay, Tay. If you type in Tay into a Microsoft or Google search right now, you will find hundreds, if not thousands, of articles about the fact that it was online for, I believe, less than 24 hours because it was learning from hateful speech that people were feeding into it immediately after launch. Well, why did it get launched to the entire world in one shot as opposed to in small doses? There are tools we can use to manage and mitigate risk by following best practices from the world of design thinking, from agile, from these modern ways of developing product services and platforms.
Right. You mentioned design thinking. Sorry, go on. I think I've interrupted.
No, please.
Uh, how do you think AI will influence design thinking, for instance, or and product development in general?
I want to flip that. I want to say, how does design thinking influence AI? And in fact, I'm teaching next week the first part of a course at the Norwegian Technical University. This is the third year. It's still the only place on earth I know of that teaches a course, a postgraduate course in AI and design thinking together. So we are teaching, I'm one of the faculty, but there's people from all over the world teaching business leaders about AI and design thinking together, and that the two go hand in hand. Ultimately, we can look up all the definitions we want, but design thinking is a human centric approach, an empathy driven approach to problem solving. Design thinking says identify the problem through the lens of the user of your solution and through understanding their pain points, their needs, their desires, their hopes, their fears, and then design your solution iteratively toward that set of outcomes. If we apply that mental model to working with AI, which is what I have been advocating for many years, we get to a point where we are designing AI driven solutions with the same best practices that people have been using for designing all kinds of other human centric solutions for many years now.
Right. What would you advise, let's say, how to teach your product team to use AI. Any tips, any general advice?
Absolutely. So I think there's two sides to it, and I love teaching both sides. We can teach our product teams how to work with and think with an AI first mindset. And we can work with our data science and our data engineering and machine learning teams to teach them a product mindset. I think we actually have to do both at the same time to drive things forward in a meaningful way. If we are teaching product teams how to use AI, we need to shift the conversation. We need to shift the conversation away from we will use AI as the starting point of the discussion and then find a problem that fits it. We have to go back to basics, to fundamentals, which is let's understand who we're solving a problem for. Let's define what that problem is. And then let's ideate. The only difference is now when we ideate new solutions, new ways of solving that problem, we have another set of tools that we've never had before in our pocket. Those are AI tools. So I use actually a deck of cards. I have got 3 or 4 different versions that I both been a contributor to or purchased or used other people's cards. But these are AI ideation cards that essentially list all the different things that AI can do. So one card might say predictive analytics. You can predict the next number in a series based on historic data. Another card might say chatbot. You can have an intelligent conversation with a bot or other type of interface. If we infuse 30, 40, 50, 60, sometimes 70 different ideas of what AI can do with a well-defined problem statement, that will lead us to great ideas. That is different than saying, we need to use AI. Let's go look for opportunities to apply AI to problems. Let's start instead with the problem, like we always have. And my hope is over time, we will see the same transition we had with mobile devices. The early versions of mobile apps were solutions looking for problems. Think about all the stupid apps that people made. They were people, I mean, some just trying to make a quick buck, of course, but they were mostly people thinking, what can I do with this technology? Not what problem can I solve? Over time, that shifted, and now almost any digital product or digital design team will start with what they call a mobile first mindset, recognizing that 55% of internet traffic starts from a mobile device rather than a desktop. So we have to design for that. I think that same shift we are just at the early stages of. And the first step is for people to understand the fundamentals of what AI is and what it's not.
That's a great summing up. Ramy, I would like to thank you so much for this conversation. The very positive things to me is, let's say, that it's not as complicated as it seems to apply AI, and it's kind of new clothes for the old thing. But we don't need to be afraid of risk. Rather, we need to embrace it. So I think this is, let's say, my takeaway from this discussion. I'm sure that our audience really enjoyed it. And once again, thank you very much for having you.
I really appreciate your time. It was a really fun discussion. Thank you so much and wish you a great day.
Thank you so much for listening to Sherpa Search on Tech. If you have enjoyed the show, please subscribe to our show wherever you listen. Thanks again. The Sherpa Search on Tech podcast is a production of Sherpa Search, an executive search firm specializing in the tech industry, helping hire the right people for expert and managerial positions, and advising how to build and develop long-lasting, high-performing IT teams. If you would like to learn more, reach out to us at maciej.szczerba@sherpasearch.tech or visit our website sherpasearch.tech. See you next time.